Can everybody hear me okay? Hold up. I see. Oh, look. Natalie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am 31 years old. Off the rip. She done took care of me already. I appreciate that, Natalie. But I am 31 years old now. For those of you who are wondering. We are live right now. We are on Rockfin and we are on YouTube. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Technology was trying to hold me back on my birthday. But it's about time we get started. Loving the hat. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry to those who came in and left because the stream wasn't working. Clearly my computer was mad at me because I ain't do no work. Are y'all hearing a crackle? I don't hear anything. Thank you very much, Katrina. Fred Edward. Niko transitioning to a Quaker. I'm not transitioning to a Quaker, but I shake some things up like earthquake. So close enough. Y'all hear something? I don't hear crackling though. That's weird. Well, if it keeps going in like 3 minutes, we'll go ahead and see if we can do something about it. All right, so it looks like we're good on both Rockfin and YouTube now. So shout out to all my Rockfin premium peeps. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hold up, where? All right. So thank you all so much for tuning into this live streamed segment of Mikai Says Ukatsu. We got a very special segment today. Okay? It's somebody's birthday today. It's my birthday today. I have turned 31 years old. I am officially in the new decade, as we are turning into a new decade in real time as far as New Year's is concerned. Now, a lot of people have asked me, well, why did I decide to do an AMA? Well, to be honest with you, this year was the MCSC's network most successful year across the board. Viewership, political influence, just the amount of love and support that you all have showed. And because this has been such my 30, year 30, if you will, was such a successful year, I felt like any questions you had about that year would be, dope to hear. So I decided to do Ask Me Anything, so that we can celebrate my birthday together before I go out and really celebrate, if you catch my drift. I know you do. So the questions, I'll be looking through to answer people's questions for sure, but the priority goes to our Rockfin premium members, people who give super chats. And then after that, I'll look through to figure out what question is most interesting to me. I think that's fair, right? Everybody agree? I feel like that's fair. So, let me see what we got. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. So, am I in a relationship? Yes, I am. Thoughts on the status quo, railing against Jank. Ooh, man, you come out with the doozy right out the gate, huh? I haven't seen the rant against Jank. Although I'm pretty sure it's involving Hillary Clinton, and that whole thing where Jank defended Hillary Clinton. I don't know what the what the hell was this man thinking? Sometimes I'll be wondering about Cenk. Like he's considered like really intelligent apparently, but I'll be wondering about that man sometime. But at the end of the day, I feel the same way. I mean, Cenk and Jordan aren't too far apart, but I would say that Jordan has more integrity than Cenk does for the most part. So, like I got to give that to him. But with that being said, like I said, it's still up to me. Jordan has a personal thing against Cenk at the moment, so I don't really put too much into what he says about Cenk because of their past issues where Jordan used to work at TYT, but then he was let go. Thank you for this. Thank you for all the wishes. Thank you for all the well wishes. How did Debbie Wasserman Schultz get elected to Congress after admitting to rigging the election against Bernie Sanders in 2016? Oh, how did she get elected? Oh, well, she cheated. She cheated. Oh, that's like the simplest way I could put it. She cheated. She was not a legitimate congresswoman. What's up with the hat? What's up with my hat? I'm wearing my hat. This is the hat. This is my outfit I'm wearing tonight, y'all. Big Irv, appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll be celebrating. I'm gonna take a shot for you, Big Irv. Thanks for all the love. David D. Hilster, Kyle Kalinske, with his not studied or well thought out comments on why Jimmy and you support Tulsi and not Bernie. I didn't hear those comments. Y'all, I was like literally on vacation for like the last 3 days, so I haven't seen any comments. But I don't know why he thinks that, honestly, because I don't know what he said. If you could tell me what he said, I guess I can address that particular comment. But it's not really a secret as to why I support Tulsi. I'm very clear. I'm very, very clear on why I support Tulsi. I understand that our foreign policy literally dictates domestic policy and also dictates the excuses that are given to us by our politicians here domestically for why things can't get done, like rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, like Medicare for all. Also, I'm an empath, and so a lot of this stuff that happens overseas, unfortunately, I feel it. You know what I'm saying? When we bombed Syria, bro, I was pissed that entire day. I was angry because I knew that we shouldn't have bombed them, and I can't just ignore like Libya being a slave state. I can't ignore that. Obviously for me as a black male, I'm quite aware that if there was a bunch of white women being sold in Libya, it would be international news and it would be nonstop and it would be immediately taken care of. But because it's a bunch of black kids, black guys specifically, nobody cares. So, however, I know Tulsi would. She wouldn't ignore it. Nor would she celebrate the death of anybody. If we have to kill somebody because of foreign policy, it is what it is. We have to do it. But that's not something to be celebrated. So on top of election integrity, I feel like that's just a no-brainer. Thoughts on Tulsi being pro-charter schools? I don't think she's pro-charter school. I think that she is. So there's certain situations with charter schools. So I don't know if y'all know, but charter schools got co-opted. Where I'm from, or where I live at now, we have charter schools that are specifically designated to help people in lower income areas. We have charter schools, so like if you aren't Spanish speaking naturally, if you want to be integrated into a program that is only Spanish speaking so that you can become bilingual, there's a charter school for that. We have a charter school for people who are autistic and they need that charter school, and it's 100% acceptance. Like they don't refuse anybody. And for that particular charter school, there isn't any, you don't pay into it. They get their money through endowments. So like there are different charter schools that, in my opinion, are okay. But those aren't the ones we're talking about, right? We're talking about the charter schools that siphon money off from the public school system and put it back into the charter school that already gets private funding, when we know for a fact our public schools need to be built up more so. And that I don't believe Tulsi is for. I think she is for the examples that I just said before, but not just funding charter schools that suck money out of the public school system. Let me see my rock fame people. Thank you very much, Tony and Rock fan. I appreciate it. Am I on YouTube as well? I absolutely am. Robbie, happy birthday, boss. Question, what was your favorite and most interesting story you covered this year? Ooh, that's a good question, Robbie. Well, you hit me with the doozy. My favorite topic that I covered this year was the topic where Kamala Harris's father basically completely disassociated himself with his campaign and with his daughter. That was my favorite topic to cover this year because, like, let's be real. When we first heard the story, like, I had myself, Fiorella, Pasta, like, we were like, bro, is this real? This can't be real. There's no way this is real. I can't believe this is real. And it turned out it was absolutely real. What a surprise. And it was just hilarious because I remember at that point her campaign was already snowballing. It was already snowballing to a noticeable degree. So when that happened, I do truly believe that was almost like a nail in the coffin before Tulsi even, put rhetorical hands on her at the debates. I think that when your own father disassociates himself with you in your campaign, it says a lot about who you are. Good question, Robbie. Good question. But that was my favorite topic for sure because that was funny. And like, that's one of them stories where you hear it and you initially ignore it because you're like, there's no way that this is real. You're trying to tell me that her dad really disowned her and disowned her political career. Said basically, you're not part of this. He said, I don't want to be a part of this travesty is what he said. And it turned out that was a true story. So Bethlehem, thanks for the super chat. Happy birthday, Niko. I wish I was 31 again. Are you of mixed race? Also, when are you going to be on the Hill show? We're going to, after New Year's, I'll be on the Hill. There's basically a holiday scheduling conflict for us. That's why we had to reschedule it. So it wasn't a big deal. Also, I am mixed with Barbadian, Blackfoot, Native American, and Caucasian. That's what I mix with. I'm actually the darkest one out of all of my siblings. I mostly take after the Barbadian or the Bayesian side, the Caribbean side. But all my other siblings they're either light or white. So, but yes, I am of mixed race. Overbound Game Studio, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy birthday, Niko. Cigarette age 21 now. What do you think? You know what's funny? My brother just told me that. I don't agree with it. At the end of the day, I don't smoke cigarettes. I think they're absolutely horrific. I think they're bad. I don't like big tobacco. But I am very much so about liberty and autonomy. Like, if I have all the warnings here, and I'm telling you cigarettes are bad, you shouldn't do them, they're so horrible for you, but you're 18, you're an adult, you can sign up to fight and die for this country, you can get married, you can get a full-time job. If you don't feel like going to college, you don't have to go. If you don't feel like going to high school, you don't have to go. You can drop. Like, we have all these options at 18, but you're going to tell me what I can and cannot put in my body. And I don't think that is liberty. I don't think that is what our Constitution intended. Whenever we're drafting new amendments to the Constitution, I don't believe that it was the intention of the founding fathers to legislate things like, or not even legislate, but just constitutionally push for things like 21-year-old or 21 years of age before you can drink. I don't think that our founding fathers had that in mind when they drafted the Constitution, right? I also don't think they had that in mind when they tried to do prohibition. I don't think that they had that in mind. Telling kids, I believe that maybe constitutionally it should be a state decision. Maybe if one state wants to do 21, I would still disagree with it. But if a state wants to do it, that's another thing. But federally, if the smoking age became 21, I just don't think that that's cool. If you can die for the country, I firmly believe you should be able to poison yourself slowly over the course of several years and destroy your skin. That's your choice. Hey, it's your choice. So, go check on Rock Finn. All right, back to YouTube. McCracy, thanks for the super chat. Would you have Keek Org on at any point? I do not know who Keek Org is. Maybe if you let me know who he is, I can check him out and then I can have him on. Send him my way. Tell him to shoot me a DM if he's good at what he does. I always love having on new people. I love talking to new people. Thanks for once again. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. Have I seen Tulsi's impression on SNL recently? I did, and it was hilarious. I love, you know what's funny about that? It just refortifies the point that I made in January and February. I said the thing, Tulsi benefits from a very unique situation where like the only other person I can compare it to, unfortunately, is Donald Trump, which is, it doesn't matter how much the media hates her, they love those ratings. They love those ratings. And anytime you bring Tulsi's face on, you're going to get ratings. She's going to be the most Googled. She's going to go viral. Literally, Tulsi can't even vote president without going viral all over Twitter. The ratings that Tulsi brings to the table cannot be ignored. And the money that you get from those ratings, of course, can also not be ignored. But I love the fact that when she showed up on SNL, you know, because it was like she just invited herself to the debate, which is dope. Everybody in the crowd started clapping. And it was kind of unexpected. I wasn't really expecting them to start clapping as loud as they did. But it was pretty dope to hear how supportive they were. And they were like, yeah, Tulsi's back. Hell yeah, bro. I loved it. Jordan Allen, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy 31st. Never stop fighting the imperialists. What do you think of the clear alliance between the Rising and TYT Sam Cedar? I can say this. There is a clear alliance between maybe Crystal and TYT and the Sam Cedar. Well, technically, Sam Cedar is part of the TYT network, so. But there's a clear alliance between them. I do believe that. And by the way, I like Crystal. I really think that she's awesome. But like, just from an objective perspective, Crystal is the ultimate marketable progressive. She is a white woman who used to be somewhat neoliberal-ish, who flipped the script and endorsed Bernie, and she has a platform that, of course, where she can benefit because of how the Hills platform is set up. She can personally benefit from Sam Cedar, the Jenks, Michael Brookses, and all these people boosting her. She can personally benefit. And of course, on the flip side of that, that is a way for them to get a crack at being kind of put into the mainstream conversation long term again. So they want to make sure they stay in her good graces. But you know, it's just, how do I say this without being, I don't want to sound like a dickhead. Because I think that Crystal is probably better than all of them except for Kyle, maybe. But and to be real with you, she might even be more principled as Kyle when it comes to some things. But she stood with Tulsi in her president vote. She actually came out before the vote even was taking place and said the same thing I said: abstain, vote president, don't be part of this. And of course, it's turning out to be a shit show as we expected, and we're seeing the exact results we expected. So, but at the end of the day, and I want to be real about this, like it's the white knight and white saviors progressive movement, and everybody else is just living in it. And so, of course, they're always going to extend that helping hand out to somebody they think they can benefit from in the long run. And Crystal, you can benefit from in the long run. Truthfully speaking, Crystal can benefit from Sam Cedar in the long run. You know, TYT in the long run. They can benefit from each other, so that's where the alliance comes from. And that, you know how it goes. I wouldn't put Crystal in this category, but there's the neo-progressives who make it very clear they believe they can say Bernie's name after literally anything, and it makes whatever the fuck dumb shit they said afterwards okay. That's exactly what happens. Like, it's stupid. I can't believe people fall for it, but it is what it is, right? But I can tell you right now, Sagar is in no such alliance. I can tell you that for a fact. Sagar is a very independent-minded human being. That's why I think him and Crystal do so well together. Crystal's also independent-minded, but you know, she has different prerogatives than Sagar does. And I will say that I do believe Sagar is more dedicated to truth bringing and not towing establishment narratives than Crystal is. I think Crystal likes to kind of buffer herself sometimes when she's going to tell the truth. Like, oh, I don't agree. I think it was politically naive for Tulsi to go visit Syria. I mean, I don't understand what's naive about a member of the Committee of Foreign Affairs and a member of the Council of Foreign Relations trying to create peace by meeting with the leader. I thought that's diplomacy. But she does go on to defend her. But Sagar, on the other hand, there is no caveats, there is no qualifiers. From his knowledge, it's either fact or fiction. And if he finds out something is fiction later, then he will openly correct himself. So, Progressive Minded, thank you very much for the super chat. Like I'm missing a super chat. Panda Stratton, I think I might have missed your super chat earlier. Thank you very much for the super chat. Much love, much love. Who else do we got? Yeah, Sagar is a Republican technically. Think Jimmy is going to respond to ROF's. Sorry, that's my little sister calling me. You think Jimmy's going to respond to ROF's smear of Tulsi Gabbard? Smear? Who's ROF? I mean, I don't know what ROF is. You gotta educate me on that. Pretty sure if you told me, I'm gonna know, but. What is the story behind me and Tim Black? Once I answer this ROF question, I'll answer that for you. Well, not all of it, but I'll answer enough of it for you. Oh, Ring of Fire. I don't actually know if Jimmy will respond to the Ring of Fire's smears about Tulsi. And the reason why is because for the most part, if you've noticed, Jimmy does a very good job of not paying mind or giving attention to people who don't need attention, right? Like, because basically for him, almost everybody, if Jimmy would mention their name, is punching down. Because even if you take like David Pakman, for example, who may have more subscribers than Jimmy at this point, because he's pandering unbelievably so to neoliberals, he does not get anywhere near the viewership that Jimmy does. He does not sell out shows across the country like Jimmy does. Jimmy right now is in Hawaii doing a sellout show in Hawaii. In Hawaii, selling out shows. So I noticed that he does tend to kind of ignore stuff like that, but because he knows it'll cause drama to a degree, you have to think there is a degree of trolling that where people are trying to bait people like myself, bait people like Jimmy into engaging them so that they can whine and cry and then turn around and play victim and then pretend like they're Bernie supporters when they're really not. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Don't confuse someone using Bernie's name for their own publicity for being a Bernie supporter, for being part of the movement, because you see that all the time. I always say in January, if I would have endorsed Bernie Sanders instead of endorsing Tulsi Gabbard, we would have 200,000 subscribers easily. But that wasn't where my conscience went. If it was about the money, that would have been the best move for me to make. That would have been the best move for the network to make. But as you can see on this network, we all have differentiating opinions on who we support. Although I think most of us lean towards Tulsi primarily now. But in the beginning, we were all kind of split down the middle. A couple of us supported Tulsi primarily. A couple of us supported Bernie primarily. And I made my personal endorsement. They made their personal endorsements, and it's fine. So, but if I wanted us to make money, I would just do what everybody else did. I would just I would just be unchallenging towards Bernie. I would have endorsed Bernie out the gate. I would have piled on to Tulsi because that would have been the easiest thing to do. But for Jimmy, I don't think that he's going to give any credence to them. I think he's going to keep doing the great work that he does. Got a lot of respect for Jimmy. He's a friend. And he's a friend that has told me things about, just the opportunities that he's had and he's not taken because of how dedicated he is to the movement. He's not just going to do something for money. I mean, I can't tell you the story, but I can tell you, I know that for a fact. He's had chances to do stuff for money, and he's like, no, I'm not trying to be a part of that. I'm trying to make change, and that's what his videos are for. So even if he has somebody on I disagree with, I don't have to question whether or not Jimmy is going to maintain his integrity. And in fact, I have a lot of respect for Jimmy for bringing people on that I know he disagrees with, because it's harder to do that than to just ignore them. It is. But I always tell people the same thing I feel about, same way I feel about Tulsi when people complain about her visiting Assad or whoever. If you won't meet with somebody, if you will not sit down with somebody, if you will not debate them after challenging them or disagreeing with them on substance, then you are scared of them. You fear them. And therefore, I'm already judging your opinion. I don't have any, like, how many people have come to me talking shit on Twitter, whether it's Anna Kasparian, Michael Brooks, Emma Vigilant, Tim Black, all these people. How many people have come to me on Twitter talking shit, swearing that they got the right answers, swearing that they understand issues that they've never ever worked with or dealt with? And then I'm like, I'm not arguing with you on Twitter. We both have cameras. We're both perfectly capable of publicly speaking. Debate about it, or I just don't want to hear it. And then once you ask them to debate, all of a sudden they all go quiet because they're scared. They don't want to engage with the people they disagree with. They know that they can. It's a different world now. Back in the day of the, Abraham Lincoln and I want to say it's Frederick Douglass. Yeah, I think it was Frederick Douglass. They're, the Lincoln Douglas debate. People think that like they were just gun-ho about debating each other. For Abraham Lincoln, it would have actually been kind of beneficial to not be exposed, because Douglas was a career politician who had a lot of support and a lot of gravitas right at that point in politics. Mostly pro-slavery though, or at least pro-states' rights is how he pushed it. But Lincoln did not have any of the credentials that Douglas made, but critiquing Douglas on substance without Douglas being there would have actually been somewhat advantageous. However, he would have not drawn the crowd, so he went at Douglas directly in order to spread the truth. So remember that, first of all. Lincoln could have avoided Douglas. People always say, well, why are you engaged people who are not telling the truth? Why do I call them out? Lincoln called out Douglas directly. When Douglas wanted to maintain states' rights, which we know is code for slavery, Lincoln went at him because he said, if you're going to use your platform to lie and mislead, I'm going to use my platform to correct you. And then Douglas didn't actually want to debate Abraham Lincoln. However, he had two issues. That Lincoln-Douglas debate was geared towards Illinois, who hadn't found, they were a swing state who also they didn't have a consensus of whether or not they wanted to be a slave state or a free state. So they didn't even have a consensus on that. So it was a swing state that both of them needed to win. Douglas cannot afford for Abraham Lincoln to win there. So he was forced at that point to engage with Abraham Lincoln, which of course, it's kind of accepted that Abraham Lincoln won that debate. But my point is, back then, you couldn't run from debates. If you were going to be that outspoken publicly about any particular issue politically, you could not run away from debates. You cannot run away from engagement because it would immediately shoot your credibility into the dirt. If you're going to be that public about your disagreements, if you're going to be that public about the opinions you decide to voice, then you better be publicly ready to defend them. And that's how I feel about that. Am I planning to go on Jimmy's show? Soon. I'm gonna talk to him about it, and we're gonna try to see if I can set something up in January to pop in. Jay Wood, debate progressive voice. He's talking shit, but be nice. Of course, he always, bro. Once again, I find it ironic that apparently, at least that's what I saw in a video, that a progressive voice invented the term Tulsel. And for those of you who don't know, Tulsel, just like a Tulsi supporter combined with the word incel, which is an involuntary celibate. And it's funny to me because I'm like, bro, you are a whole virgin. I'm pretty sure the only time he's ever seen vagina is on Pornhub. Right? I think we can all agree with that. So the fact that you think that it's a bunch of guys who, come on, bro. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Do I look like an incel? Okay. Like, does Fiorella really look like an incel? Does Kim Iverson really look like an incel? Really? Like, really though, bro? Come on. But it's a projection, right? It's projection. It's really what that shows me, in my humble opinion, is how Progressive Voice views Tulsi. Like, he's attracted to her, but he also, everybody he supports hates her, and he's a Bernie supporter. So how does he rationalize it? His unconscious seeps out, and he says, "Oh, a Tulsi. That's what you are if you're a Tulsi supporter." I'm like, what the hell? What the hell does that have to do with being a Tulsi supporter? It's a bunch of incels who like Tulsi because they can't get women. And for some reason, just for some odd reason, I have a feeling that if me and Progressive Voice saw each other in public, he might get more looks than me potentially, but it ain't gonna be for the right reasons. So, boy, looking like the Goodyear blimp mascot. Anyway, I think I see another super chat. Am I missing one? Cool Blue. Hold on, let me see if I can find your super chat, Cool Blue. Thanks for the super chat, Cool Blue 71. Happy birthday, Niko. Since you have mentioned Abraham Lincoln, is he your favorite president in U.S. history? If not, who is? Ooh, man. That's a hard one. That is actually a difficult question for me. I lean towards George Washington. I know as cliche as it sounds, people are like, "Oh, Lincoln freed the slaves." Lincoln was like a tool, if you will, but slavery was going to crumble. It was not economically sustainable. That's the reason that Lincoln was kind of forced to take such a hardliner position on slavery, because the economy was going in the tank. That's why he had to do what he had to do. So basically we ended up, but anyway, I'm gonna fast forward. So basically, George Washington I lean towards, but as far as Henry Wallace is the person that I most admire, president or vice president. Henry Wallace was that guy. Like, knowing what I know about history, which I'm sure a lot of you know now, Henry Wallace, if he would have actually been able to take over without being cheated by FDR, he would have been the best president in history. We wouldn't have had the Cold War. We would have never overthrew Mossadegh in Iran. And then, of course, what we put was it the Ayatollah or the Shah after we installed them? That would have never happened. Segregation would have ended 25 years earlier than what it did. Medicare for all would already exist. We would have never helped, like, the United States Great Britain and other countries maintain their colonies in Africa, which we were doing actively. There's a whole host of things that most importantly, I think the nuclear bombs would have never dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki if Henry Wallace was the president rather than Harry Truman. The CIA would probably not even be a thing. If it would be ran a lot differently. They would be way more accountable for their actions. Obviously, we never get Truman if we have Henry Wallace. It's like I said, there's a whole host of reasons that I like Henry Wallace. But for George Washington, I like how he was nonpartisan, and he was very clear about the dangers of partisanship. He was very clear about the dangers of political parties. I like how he was not an isolationist, but he was definitely, I guess you could consider him isolationist back then, when the term wasn't seen as wasn't connotated as something bad. But he basically was like, look, the United States, the one mistake that we can make is getting involved in everybody else's drama. He understood the nuance of that, and that's one thing that it's crazy for him to see his foresight about two things: political parties, which he got right, and the dangers of the United States being overextended and constantly being involved in other people's affairs, other countries' affairs. He was right about both of those. We got a rock fan question. Miles Washington, thank you very much. Happy birthday, Niko. What is your opinion on whether or not the U.S. should adopt direct democracy? Obviously, our current government is way too toxic to get anything done. So if you're referring to direct democracy as far as the popular vote for the general election, nope. If you want to do the popular vote after ranked choice voting is implemented, yeah, I like that. But the popular, there's a reason. Once again, what's my rule? The Neera Tanden rule. Neera Tanden loved the idea of a popular vote and just the straight abolishment of the Electoral College with no other mechanism to check for election integrity. But with direct democracy, like what Neera Tanden wants in that particular case, it would basically mean you're putting the power into voting machines that are rigged, political parties that are corrupt, and gerrymandering in these particular cases wouldn't even really be necessary because it just would become much easier to rig the process in our current system. Once we deal with that, we got to get mandatory paper ballots, blockchain technology, which is open source software. Once we implement ranked choice voting, then we can readdress that issue. Thank you. That was a great question, by the way. Let's see, we got another chat. Look, I'm missing. Hold up, did I get 3? Okay, yeah, we got 3 on YouTube, so I'm gonna try to answer these quick as possible. The reason I'm asking is because it's important to bring progressives together, but also call it a double standard. Tulsi supporters versus Bernie supporters, we have to stop fighting each other. It's unproductive. Jay Wood, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. We do need to stop fighting each other. It is totally unproductive. Like, it's not only is it unproductive, it is damaging. You people really have not figured out that one, Bernie, even if he wins, he needs help. He needs help even if he wins. He needs a good vice president, even if he wins. Even if he wins the nomination, or even if he is close to winning the nomination, he'll need Tulsi. Listen, y'all, there's one factor about that I think that his supporters are not considering, like his ardent supporters who think that they can help Bernie by smearing Tulsi. Bro, you look at New York, you look at Chicago, you look at San Francisco, you look at LA, you even look at a lot of South Florida, major parts of South Florida. You know one thing all those places have in common? Southeast Asian and East Asian demographics. Demographics that it's currently looking like the demographics that would be dominated by Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. Both of those demographics. Almost all of the donations from this Asian community in its totality have gone to either Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard. That's not a small achievement at all. So if you want Tulsi to start to be more inclined, although she won't make decisions based off of pettiness, by the way. But my thing is, I can kind of say confidently Andrew Yang would give him delegates. I don't think that Elizabeth Warren would. You need people, because maybe they a lot of the Bernie supporters or former Bernie supporters say they're voting for Elizabeth Warren because of her age. Because they think she's the second most progressive in the race. A lot of you all have helped with that, with making that belief a reality that should have never existed. She was never the second most progressive person in the race. So now you just propped up a person who is not going to give Bernie her delegates. That's what you just did. Or at least not guaranteed. Whereas for Tulsi, we know for a fact that she would give her delegates to Bernie. I don't know if I can say that same thing for the other way around, but I do know that she would do it if that's what it came down to. She just got the Stop Arming Terrorists Act passed in the last budget, which if Trump commits military offenses without going through Congress, he could be impeached for it. A real impeachment. Off Act. Her policies are just A1, right? Election integrity. How could you hate the one candidate who speaks about election integrity more than anybody else? And not just on Republicans. She speaks about election integrity for everybody. And so I agree. I believe that Bernie and Tulsi supporters shouldn't be fighting. I don't mean that we should not have healthy discussions. I do not mean that we should not have healthy debates. I do not mean that we cannot have a genuine discussion about who we feel is a better candidate. There's two different debates to be had, of course. Who's the better candidate and who has the best chance of winning? And as you can see in my past, I've been pretty open to having both of those debates. I think they're both productive. But we have to be having those debates in good faith. That's first and foremost. We have to be having those debates in good faith. And let's be real about it. Most of these people have not been having those discussions in good faith. What major players, the same ones, once again, who constantly call out the right for not wanting to challenge them, not wanting to debate them, not wanting to address issues, constantly called out Dave Rubin, constantly call out Ben Shapiro, et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to Tulsi versus Bernie, as far as who is the best candidate, how many of the big wigs have you seen step up? Other than Kyle. Me and Kyle had a discussion about it. It was a friendly discussion. But other than that, nobody else would dare engage with me on that issue. Even though Anna called me out on Twitter saying that I was being nice to Tulsi. I was defending Tulsi because she was nice to me. Once again, not realizing the day before that, I actually did like a 30-minute video critiquing Tulsi. But so you can props to everyone who, stepped up. I've had several debates this year. Most of them were good, or a couple of them were good. The rest were But, shout out to those who stepped up. But to those who are claiming that Tulsi supporters are trying to divide the movement, bro, y'all were never in the movement to begin with. So, I'm just going to keep it a band. Thanks for that question. Ren Sten, thanks for the super chat. George Washington stole indigenous land like Trump. Let's agree that we need Henry Wallace or George McGovern, who got cheated. 100%. Like I said, I'm not like, I mean, I gotta select the president, and it's like I always say, it's hard to scare black people. You'll be hard pressed to scare black people about a racist president, because pretty sure almost every president except for the black one was racist. And even him, he won't racist, but he did some racisty shit. He was kind of cool with just blowing up Africa. McCrazy, please shut progressive voice up. He smears you, JD, and Tulsi a lot. Look, I can only tell my truth. And spit the facts. If he wants to debate me, he knows how to find me. But he doesn't want to challenge me. That would be bad for him. He knows this. Come on. Colin Radix Carter, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Happy birthday, Niko. Shout out to your Bajan heritage. I'm Bajan on my dad's side, and your facial features are similar to my dad. What are your hopes and dreams personally and on the channel? Ooh, for 2020. Ooh, that's a good question. And I know it's actually kind of creepy how like unique the features for Bajan people are. Just as an aside, it comes from, we have a very similar heritage to people from Trinidad, where it's, you have that Desi mixed with black. But the difference is the people in Bangladesh and Barbados are generally mixed with, their ethnic backgrounds people from Bangladesh, right? Whereas with Trinidad, it's mostly people from India. So, because the ones from Bangladesh ran because they were being persecuted for being Muslim. That's where they stopped at. So we have pretty unique features: long eyelashes, you know, different shaped eyes, generally red bones, you know. So most of the famous people in the most famous black celebrities, by the way, are Caribbean. Funny enough, and most of them are Barbadian. My hopes and dreams for 2020. Oh man, hopes and dreams for 2020. Well, obviously, I want to see Tulsi win the presidency, like first and foremost. I would like to see our channel grow, but of course, I want to see our channel grow the right way. We're not going to sell ourselves out to grow the right way. We're not going to ignore the facts. To grow, we're not going to change who we. We're not going to change who we are, but we're definitely going to come up with different ways and diversify our portfolio, if you will, with our content, just to keep things interesting, to shake things up. I got to give a huge shout out to my mom. She bought me some huge upgrades for my equipment, which was really, really nice of her, because she wasn't all that supportive when I first started doing this. And I mostly, not this is she was upset about, but mostly not going to law school she was upset about. If you have black parents, you know how they are about stability and all that good stuff. So I can't really fault her, especially because I had a full ride. So, but you know, it worked out, and she got me some upgrades, and it was dope. It was really awesome. So that will be a huge help this year. So we're gonna upgrade the quality of the show for sure. I want to try and add a couple of more people onto the network. I think that we've been doing really good. The people we've brought on, as you can see, I'm very, very I scrutinize a lot, you know, before I bring anybody onto the network. I don't look for somebody I'm always disagreeing with. I'm looking for people who can justify whatever bullshit they're telling me, and that they're consistent in their principles. That's what I'm mostly concerned with. And we've done a damn good job. We have some awesome people on this network so far, and I want to continue to grow. I really, really want to start a nonprofit this year. It's just very difficult. I'm always skeptical about nonprofit organizations because the way that the government has the rules set up is like you can't be in charge of your own nonprofit forever once you hit a certain point. And then because of that, you end up having a board, and then you have to turn over that board pretty often. And that's generally how good nonprofits get taken over time. And I don't want that to happen. So we have to figure out a balance there, for sure. And for me personally, you know, I'm excited to go whenever the elections start. I'm excited to go speak at Tulsi's rallies and galvanizing the people. And then, you know, based off of who wins between Tulsi and Bernie, I'm really excited about pushing either one of them. And I truly believe that the DNC has kind of put itself in a weird position that it's going to be one of them. So I'm excited to go fight for them in the general election. I think this is going to be a huge year for progressives. I think that a lot of people are going to get exposed this year. A lot of people got exposed last year, right? And I know in 2020, you're going to have to make a decision. Is it Trump derangement syndrome or is it the movement? I know that for a fact. That's like for a fact. We know that's going to be the choice that people have to make. Even further, is your love for Bernie or is your love for Tulsi or Andrew Yang more so important that you can't critique them when it's time to critique them? We're going to find that out in 2021. So, you know, I'm excited about all the different unique angles that we're going to have this year. I'm excited about going out and campaigning. I'm excited about all this, you know, the new upgrades for the studio. I'm excited that the Convo Couch has hit its stride. I'm excited to have Robbie on the network now. I'm excited, you know, it's 2020. We set up ourselves really well as a network in 2019. We have our core support. We have our core message, and we're consistent. And I believe that over the next year, that consistently, as everybody else begins to kind of waver and fold and bend themselves into a pretzel, trying to defend their position no matter what because of the person that they support, I believe that eventually the light will shine through, as it always does. and people will see the truth and see the facts for what they are. That's that. So that is my goal. If I want to help people, you know, it isn't just about being right, because we predict basically everything right politically. We're pretty damn good at that. We were joking in our group chat for the MCSC network. We were like, MCSC network, we told you so. We're gonna make that our motto, our logo. But it's not just about being right though, because you got to be able to basically, you have to make the audience assent to your message. You have to make they have to willingly agree with your message, willingly accept it. And because of the adversarial nature of politics in general, but just this year, how adversarial politics has been within the progressive movement, it makes it more difficult because of how tribal we've become. I try not to be tribal, but just the progressive movement is tribal, and it's hard to ignore that fact. And so I'm personally taking it upon myself to help my message reach people who otherwise wouldn't want to hear anything I have to say, right? Maybe they hate Tulsi, maybe they love Bernie, and because I didn't endorse Bernie, they don't like me personally. Maybe one of their favorite commentators hates me. My job, in my opinion, like, I can't control the extenuating circumstances, but I can for myself word things and phrase things in a way that makes my message more palatable for those who would otherwise not listen to my message. Because that's what I believe is important for the movement. I can't just be petty and be like, if you don't like the message, then fuck you, bro. Nah, because like my loyalty is to the movement and not my ego. And so I had to kind of like sit down and self-reflect for myself. Like, okay, 2020 is coming up. What can you do differently this year? You know, we grew exponentially this year. But what could we do different? What could I personally do differently as an analyst, as a commentator, as an orator? What could I do differently to help my message be better received, to help the progressive message be better received, even by those who would otherwise not want to receive it, whether it's because it's from me or just in general. And so that's what I want to work on too, personally. So great question, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, G Wong, for the super chat. Eventually this is going to scroll. There we go. Hanuman, appreciate it. Thank you very much for the super chat. I think I'm missing a super chat. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through and figure out what super chat I missed. Niko, you pay. Oh, of course it was Natalie. Rihanna's my absolute favorite. I believe it or not, although I'm not a huge fan of her music, I like Rihanna the person, because Rihanna is like completely organic to such a degree. You know, she kind of became this version of herself by being herself and just being very comfortable with who she is. And you even begin to see people like Beyonce take that style, that very open, grungy, sometimes kind of dark, sometimes pop dark-ish, you know, like, but just kind of blurring those politically correct R&B pop star lines. And Rihanna, in my opinion, kind of invented that for this generation and for this genre, for that genre of music. And you see a lot of people take it now. And so I got a lot of respect for Rihanna for that. Hold on, I definitely just missed a super chat. Hold on, what's going on? Let me see what it is. Here we go. Colin Radix Carter. Oh, you already I answered that one already. Non-diplomed Pinami. What's going on? Thank you very much for the super chat. Do you know has been funding Abby Martin? She sure is blocking a lot of Tulsi supporters. So let me so there's nobody funding her. She's 100% crowdfunded. Sometimes I think that we hold on. What did you, Jordan? You put up a super chat before I answer that question. Jordan, what was your question? So I can make sure to answer it. Sorry, I missed it. Sometimes like it just won't show me. I don't know why, but it won't do it. But like I was saying, oh, Jordan, I found it. I found your super chat. All right. When Zionism is officially illegal to criticize in the United States, will you be silent? What should we do as a movement to help Palestine? Ooh, man. Hell no, I won't fucking be silent. No. For me, I don't really criticize Zionism all that much. I criticize the inequity in Israel and Palestine. I mean, we don't have to think about Zionism, Islam, Judaism. Look, you don't have to think about any of that stuff. Is there human rights violations? Is one group being treated inequitably by the other group? 100%. There's no debate. What can we do as a movement to help Palestine? Bring awareness, not letting these issues fall into the wayside. We can't just cover things when they're sexy to cover them. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't just cover things like a big bombing, a missile attack, somebody gets killed, like a famous journalist gets killed, or we can't just. It's something we have to talk about every day. You have to talk about it every day, and that's the best thing we can do for now. And make sure, of course, we hold our candidates accountable first and foremost, because that's really how that change is going to come. So the more we talk about it, the more candidates are forced to acknowledge it. The more candidates and politicians are forced to acknowledge it. The more pressure is put on the leadership who has something to do about that. Then once that pressure gets applied, even if it's like disingenuous and for personal gain, they'll still bend at the will of the people if they think that their office or their mandate is dependent on it. But I think right now it's becoming to such, like that degree where finally, like even with MoveOn.org, which I usually don't agree with, their statement demanding everyone not participate in AIPAC's conference, that was huge, because now even if otherwise they would have supported AIPAC, it sends out the message like, wow, so we do have enough leverage to even stop people from participating in that conference. Clearly they're going to still do what they do behind closed doors, but it just says a lot of where we've come in that movement. I think we do, even though they don't, it's sad because I hate saying being patient, because it's easy to say that from behind my desk, but we have to continue to be patient and stand by our Palestinian brothers and sisters overseas. What was that other question that was asked? Oh, who's funding Abby Martin? So Abby Martin is 100% crowdfunded. And I do believe we do have to be careful, because sometimes we think if a person is wrong on an issue, like clearly wrong, like egregiously wrong, and seemingly doesn't want to correct themselves no matter what, we assume that they're nefarious in their intentions, or that somebody must be paying them. And the truth of the matter is that's sometimes not the case. Sometimes you just have to accept that, and people are not as good on certain issues like you thought they were. I feel like we forget that even people that we consider allies, that we consider genuine, we forget that they're human as well. And as great as Abby has been, and I do consider her a friend. I consider her, I respect the reporting she does. I respect the journey she's taken. I respect her going on the ground to Israel and Palestine. I respect her going on the ground in Venezuela, breaking that news, telling those stories of the Venezuelan people, of the mestizos, and the negritos, and like, I respect all that. Now, of course, with that respect comes a wee bit of curiosity, a wee bit. And the reason why is because of all of her work, at the very bare minimum, you would think she would be at least supportive of Tulsi. And at the very bare minimum, you would figure she would be at least a little more critical of Bernie, but it's not. She has this weird, like, disdain for Tulsi to the point where it almost seems personal. And once again, she refuses to critique Bernie substantively. Not anywhere near as much as she likes to critique Tulsi. Out of nowhere, she'll bring up a random issue to critique Tulsi, which you will never see most Bernie supporters do that, and you will damn sure never see Abby do that. Which about Bernie, like, that just won't happen. And so it's peculiar, but she's not paid by anybody. It's just she's gotten the issue of Tulsi Gabbard wrong, and you correct her, you call her out, you respect the content that she's put out. That's great. You call her out when she's wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. I've called her out. Like I said, I wasn't even rude to her. I called her out on Twitter, and she's somebody I have a great deal of respect for. However, her analytical skills when it comes to politics, right? Activism is activism. Her reporting, for the most part, has been activism. Activism and reporting is not necessarily analysis. It doesn't necessarily mean you understand politics, the intricacies and the ins and outs of politics. And people demonstrate that regularly. So, Matt Swirl, do you think Yang will be pushed out from qualifying for the DNC for the January 14th debate? Happy birthday. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate the birthday wishes. I don't believe that. And the reason why is because the last time they tried to blackball Yang, you saw how that worked out. He literally tells them, bro, we're going to make the debate stage anyway. And we're about to hit a fundraising record anyway. We don't need MSNBC. Look what happened. And right now, in my humble opinion, keeping the Andrew Yangs, the Tulsi Gabbards, the Bernie Sanders of the world on that stage stops them from campaigning in the early primary states that all three of them are looking like they're going to have a good chance of placing top 3 in. And for Tulsi and Bernie right now, New Hampshire and South Carolina are looking great for both of them. And so it's going to be a toss-up. And I think that Bernie will probably win Iowa. So I think that Yang would do very, very well in Iowa. I think he'll do top 2, top 3 in Iowa. So the longer you keep him on that debate stage, the more you take his attention and focus away from campaigning. It's actually beneficial to the establishment to do that. Believe it or not. For now, right now, like in a vacuum of right now. In 2 months, different story, obviously, but right now, that's why I think. Wallace West, what got you? Hold up. Did I just skip over something? Hold on. I got like a bunch of super chats all at once. So give me a second. Wallace West, thanks for the super chat, my man. What got you into spirituality, and what sorts of spiritual practices do you do? Have you heard of conscious politics or self-actualized.org? I've not heard of self-actualized.org, but I will look into it. And what got me into spirituality? So it's kind of a long story. So I was not necessarily raised a staunch Christian. However, I did start going to a Korean Presbyterian church around 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. That's a long story. But I went there for like almost a decade. I went to that. And interestingly enough, my youth pastor stressed more than anything else spirituality and not religion. It was my youth pastor that taught me that Jesus preached against religion, and taught me that religion is idealistic. And I was like, that's interesting. And so some of the experiences I had while I was at church, like attending that church, have still shaped and impacted my journey thus far. When I was 15 years old, a youth pastor had actually was praying over me, and he's told me that I was supposed to do a bunch of great things, and I was supposed to be huge when it came to saving the world, and I was supposed to be this great man and very influential in politics. Yeah, and some people say, oh yeah, maybe the politics side, of course, except for here's the problem. I was 15. That's one thing. The second thing is, this man had never met me before in his life. So it was creepy to me. It actually scared the hell out of me. I actually spent a good deal of my teenage years avoiding it, doing whatever I could to avoid that pressure. And then another situation came up where a very similar event took place, and I just kind of embraced it. Things were happening that I didn't understand at the time, and you kind of get frustrated, you get irritated, you want to blame God or whoever it is that you believe the higher power is named, and all the stuff that I thought that was horrible happening in my life, like why do I deserve this? Why am I being put through this? It all of a sudden evolved into, oh damn, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't have been here. This didn't happen, I wouldn't have been here. Like there's this grander scale that still, or a grander scheme that still takes into account free will, but also, it's like there's a pathway laid out for you. Whether or not you choose to accept it, whether or not you choose to walk that path, is definitely up to you. And that's kind of like how I feel about my spirituality. Like I believe in energies. I believe that like it's stupid to like. I feel like it's the hubris of humans to believe that like a God, a grand creator, doesn't exist when like literally everything has to be created and everything comes from something. I also believe we have so much hubris and so much ego that we're the only, we're just like, oh, like atheism is like, I don't really have a problem with atheism. I don't really have a problem with anybody as long as you're not mess with the people. But like the idea that if you're atheist because you're like, we can't prove God exists, and you're like, I'm atheist now. That is a huge logical fallacy that you're basing your life off of. And also, what is your definition of proof that God exists? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the burden of proof that you are basing this off of? Because if you ask me, there are a lot of things in this world that are way, way too coincidental. That we couldn't get it right. Even for example, and this is actually something I had believed for quite some time. So when homosexuality was becoming a huge thing, like it was becoming a controversial topic in North Carolina, because I was in North Carolina when that federal court ruled that we should have marriage equality across the board. I was actually in North Carolina, so it was a big deal. And I tell people all the time, Christians, because this is the South, I'm like, look, you believe that God, we're all made in God's image. God does everything for a reason. And you believe that if something happens, it's because it was meant to be. Of course, they always say yes. I'm like, so have you ever thought that maybe everybody in the world isn't meant to be heterosexual? Like, we were in college at the time. Like, we talk about overpopulation, population density. We talk about the adoption refugee epidemic. We have all these problems in the world, all these kids who need to be adopted, like that are already here, who need that love, who need that affection, while simultaneously we have people having way more kids than they probably should have. So have you ever thought that God is smart enough to recognize that, like, clearly we have to be able to keep this under control? And there's not a coincidence that I think right now it was a report that came out, almost 35% now of the U.S. population is openly admitted to being in some capacity a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Like, you think that's a coincidence? No, it is not. So I think that there's a grand creator. Like I said, I'm a very spiritual person. I pray a lot. I do believe in vibrations. I believe in energy. I believe you got to speak things into fruition. So, yeah, great question. Have Bijum. Thank you very, very much for the super chat. Happy birthday, Niko. 100. You have good judgment, and we're so lucky to have you. What are your goals for the next year personally, and what do you see happening in 2020 politically? So I answered that question about my goals, but I'll try to make it just re-answer it concisely. So we want to keep growing, obviously improve the network. I want to bring a couple of more people onto the network. I'm looking forward to campaigning for Tulsi once the elections start. I'm looking forward to campaigning for Tulsi or Bernie, depending on who wins the primary election. I'm ready to get out there and make sure that one of them becomes the president of the United States of America and beats Donald Trump. I'm also personally, like, one of my personal goals is to learn how to better convey my message so that unwilling ears would be a little bit more willing to listen and learn. That's something that I really, really want to work on, because yeah, is it more fun just firing people up, lighting them up, and letting everybody know how stupid that person is? Yeah, it is, but like, how productive is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you get into a meme war, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't become productive at a certain point, because it just goes from the politics to personal attacks. So my goal is, while everybody else is trying to just attack people, attack Tulsi, attack such and such, attack this person, my goal is to kind of reshape the way I deliver my personal message on the issues, so that it's more palatable for those who otherwise wouldn't want to listen to it, just because whatever personal vendetta they may have against me or Tulsi or even Bernie, if you're on the other side of that fence. Yeah, so that's my goal. And what I think will happen politically, I think that Tulsi or Bernie is going to win the nomination. However, if Bernie wins, I do think that there is a chance that Trump, it would be difficult. It will not be a cakewalk, because Bernie has given Trump a lot of ammo since 2016. It isn't the same race. People want to pretend it is. It is not. Tulsi pushed a nonsensical impeachment. He's allied himself with Democrats. So if Trump manages to successfully convince the rest of the country that Bernie's no different than the other Democrats, although he's been portraying himself as being different than them, then it's going to be problematic. It's going to be huge. Okay. Trump, despite what people may think, he may not be a good issue-based debater, but that was never his intention to be one. But when it comes to opposition research, Trump is up there. Okay? You sleep on his opposition research on anybody, you got problems. And if Trump manages to expose Bernie as just enough as a hypocrite, it doesn't have to be like crazy amount, but Trump can take something little, harp on it, and make you look like a hypocrite. And if he can do that with Bernie on some issues that he feels he may have a leg up over Bernie on, then it's going to be an issue for him. He's only nice to Tulsi now, and there's a reason for that. He's terrified of this woman. So, and I firmly believe that if Tulsi wins the primary, she will win the general election. And she will win all 50 states. You can book that. So thanks for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Marcus Will, thanks for the super chat. There are a lot of lefties like Chomsky and Abby that want another 50 years talking about the U.S. imperialism and doing nothing else. Happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And it's so funny that you say that, because I 100% agree. I call it the white savior complex, which is already a thing. But more specifically, when it comes to politics, I like to call it the white knight complex. See, the United States has this white knight complex where we feel, in the military industrial complex uses it against us, where we feel, oh, if this person is being hurt, it's our response. It's the big bad United States, the big brother of the world, the police of the world. It's our responsibility to go hold that person accountable for causing problems and violating human rights. We feel like that. And it really is an indictment of how we view other people and how we view the self-determination of various populations abroad. You get what I'm saying? We don't believe in the self-determination, like the white knights. They say they do, but truthfully, you don't believe in the self-determination of people when you feel like every time something happens, you have to go fight their battle for them. And then, what a surprise, you end up controlling a lot of their resources. You end up setting up their government. You end up picking the people to run. You end up funding one of the sides or both. Like, that's not believing in the self-determination of people. And the military-industrial complex takes advantage of that and then uses that to manufacture consent. They take advantage of the hubris of white knights, because they know that one thing a white knight can't do, they cannot avoid coming to save the day. They got to put on that cape. They know that. So they manufacture lies, like what we saw with Assad. They manufacture lies like what we saw with Maduro. And white knights, they bite. Because they're more concerned with the attention they get from looking like they care than actually seeing these wars, these conflicts, these regime change agendas stop. It doesn't affect them. That should always be remembered. It does not affect them. us tour does nothing for them. Does nothing to them. It's money in the bank for them, actually. All right, let's see. What we got? What we got? What we got? Look, I'm missing somebody. Let me refresh this. Computer. Let me see if I can see it from my phone. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I can see it from my phone. I can see a couple of them. Reeve Barker, thanks for the super chat. What do you think of Kyle's take that Pelosi should never send articles of impeachment to the Senate and just blame McConnell? That would be so dumb. That would be so dumb. That would be idiotic. Because in my opinion, the moment you decide not to send those articles of impeachment to the Senate, everybody keeps saying that if you support Tulsi right now, then you're just trying to go down with it. You might go down with her campaign, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I didn't go down with Bernie's campaign after Bernie's campaign endorsed Hillary Clinton, and Bernie didn't go down for endorsing Hillary Clinton, which is surprising. But I mean, he lost some support, but not the majority of it. Clearly, and it seems like y'all are more concerned with just being right. Like they just want to be right. And I understand some people think, oh, it's strategy, it's strategy, it's strategy. It's not a good strategy. It's a dumb strategy. This idea of impeach Trump no matter what is a very, very, very stupid strategy. I cannot stress that enough. It's dumb. McCracy, did you see Lauren S video? I'm assuming Lauren Steiner. I've not seen it. I don't really watch Lauren like that because of her weird affinity with attacking Tulsi no matter what after she kissed Warren's ass for like 8 months. So, but no, Tulsi does not support removing public school funding from funding from public schools into charter schools. And I can almost 100% guarantee that what Tulsi is referring to is what I talked about at the beginning of this video, which is that there are schools that are charter schools specifically that are created for special needs. There are charter schools specifically created for lower income areas that need extra supplies, need extra help, need to have smaller classrooms. In these schools, of course, because they're actually doing what they're supposed to do, they don't get that type of funding. The ones that get the funding and take it from the public schools are those charter schools that are like kind of super exclusive, pay to play type of situation where people would not be able to get into it if they did not have the money to get into it, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I can guarantee that's what Tulsi is not talking about the schools that help people. She's talking about the other ones that take money away from the state, take money away from public schools. Renston, thanks for the chat. Quick questions. What will Tulsi's plan do for chiropractic issues as well as third-term abortions? Third-term abortions are actually not allowed unless it's a very specific situation. And by the way, it's super weird that people attack Tulsi for saying this because it's literally the ruling of Roe v. Wade that she supports. And she got attacked for literally, like for believing in Roe v. Wade, literally. I tend to actually agree with her there. But with that being said, chiropractic issues, to my understanding, from what I was told, or what I was briefed about the new, her impending healthcare legislation will be included. Chiropractic and actually not Todd Southern, thanks for the super chat. Do you believe right to lifers will undermine M Medicare for all? Well, right to lifers tend to be right wing. So if you mean the right to lifers in Congress, hell yeah, of course. That's their whole thing, and they're going to use that as an excuse. Like it is what it is. You know, you kind of anticipate that. I do believe that Bernie has a pretty damn good plan for that, though, as far as holding those politicians accountable and making sure you get them out. They will not support universal health care. Are y'all having issues with hearing it? Let me see if I can do something about it. I couldn't even look down like this. I couldn't have my chin touch my sternum, and after going to a chiropractor, I was able to do so. The stream was choppy for a second, but I think we're good. Let me know if I missed your super chat. If I missed your super chat, let me know. I missed your super chat, Marcus. What was your super chat? I thought I just answered the one about the. Oh no, I did not see that one. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, if the DNC cheats Bernie and he endorses the DNC nominee, will Tulsi endorse the DNC candidate? If not, how will it play out? I'll put it like this. I'm gonna tell you what she said when she was asked this question in person. Does she look like she'd endorse the Democratic Party's nominee if it's somebody that she does not, if it is somebody she does not believe is best to run this country or suited to run this country? That was her words, and they were like, they said, no, you don't. She said, okay then. So if you think that Tulsi's endorsing someone that she doesn't want to endorse, that is not happening. It's already rare that she endorses anyone as it is. So. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, I think Donald Smith, thank you very much for this for the super chat. Appreciate the birthday wishes. Boda, thanks for the second super chat. Notice how progressive channels like Graham, The Jimmy Dore Show, Kim, and yours get long 2 to 3 minute ads that people are more likely to skip, whereas bigger neoliberal channels get short, unskippable ads, such as The Late Show with Jimmy. You know what's interesting about that? That what you're saying is true, and there may be some nefariousness to it, but I will say this as well. The reason that we have longer ads and we also have like weirdly diverse ads is because our channels also have the most diverse audience. So they believe our channels, I know for a fact that our RPM, which is like our CPM, excuse me, which is cents per minute or whatever, or it's like basically for every 100 views, how much money do you make? Or for every 100, or every 1,000 views, how much do you make? And like Jimmy and Kim and myself are like up there $7-8 per 1,000 views, whereas it's not necessarily the same for other people because their audience is so specific, and to be honest with you, it's so white. Like their audiences are super white, and so and very monolithic in their political views and probably their tastes. So it doesn't really, they don't have the same type of advertisements and advertising opportunities. So so I think it's a two-pronged situation. But if you're asking me, do I believe there's some funny business as well? Yeah, of course. I get a lot of Trump ads on my channel. So Tom Parpalardo, thanks for the super chat, my friend. I asked this earlier. Do you believe a Bernie Tulsi ticket could beat Trump and maybe win a mandate level victory? I 100% believe that. 100%. But it'd be silly not to believe it. I think that's an unstoppable ticket, and to be real with you, to be real, and of course, other people might feel differently, but I believe that Tulsi Bernie would be the best ticket, because you have Bernie remaining in the Senate as vice president, to be a deciding vote if necessary, and also to help whip opinions. That's what he wants to do, like domestic stuff. Vice president would be the best place for him to do what he wants to do and to do what he's best at. And Tulsi, obviously, I mean, there was a poll that just came out. Tulsi has the most support amongst Trump supporters, 21%. Bernie has 15%, and Yang had like 12 or 13%. But clearly, Tulsi has the most crossover appeal, and it's not even close. You combine that with Bernie's raw energy and the raw energy surrounding that movement he started, it's an unbeatable ticket. Matt's World, do you think people will riot if Biden is the Democratic nominee? Actually, yeah. The long and short of that is, yeah. I think that there will be problems if Biden is the Democratic nominee, for sure. Donald Smee, thanks for the super chat. I heard speculation that after 2020 election, if Tulsi does not win, that she might be thinking of a third party run. It's not likely at all. She's not doing that. Not right now. The third parties aren't even set up right now in order for her to run. So basically, what that will require is for her to switch out of her, party while she's still serving congresswoman. It just would set up for it wouldn't be a good look for her. If it means because of her controversial stances, like peace and all that good stuff, it's already very difficult for her to get things done as it is. And so imagine what would happen if she switched to a third party. It would be almost impossible for her to get things done. So Marcus Will, thanks for the super chat again. How viable is the turn to third party after 2020? After 2020? I don't know. I can't tell you that one. She's kind of random sometimes. So I can't see what she might feel today. She might change her mind after 2020, depending on how the election plays out. So I can't tell you. All right, I got 10 more minutes, people. 10 more minutes. I'll stay 10 minutes longer since I was a little late. Oh yeah. I forgot to answer that question. Somebody asked me earlier about Tim Black. So my thing with Tim Black is, hold on, did I get another super chat? I gotta answer that first. Matt Swirl, thanks again for the super chat. Have you listened to Jesus is King by Kanye West? If so, do you like it? I have, and I do. Actually, it's a very well put together album. Just as an album, even I'm not religious, but say even if I wasn't spiritual, it's a very positive message, about positive energy and being kind to others and not letting your demons control you and your actions, and letting demons take you out of your character. And it's a very positive message for Kanye. I think he is going through this little phase of trying to find himself and figure out who he is. I do believe that. But as an album overall, it's a very well put together album for sure. So somebody asked me earlier about me and Tim Black. So obviously, for those of you who don't know, Tim was the second show that I had ever gone on to talk about the election rigging in 2016 that was happening against Bernie Sanders. Tim, and I still give him credit to this day. I appreciate him bringing me on. I appreciate the friendship that we had. I appreciate how he looked out for me when he did look out for me. And I would never take that for granted. But on the other side of that coin, Tim was very irrational, and I'm not gonna go into all the details because some of it you just don't even know about. It's a little bit too personal. But we had a falling out that I didn't even know happened at one point. He was mad at me, and apparently the logic was, from what he told my friend, was that first he said, because I was shouting him out and giving him credit constantly. Anybody who's been part of this channel knows I've been giving Tim credit for what he does for 2-3 years, almost more than anybody else. Any other person, or excuse me, I would give him credit more than I would give credit to anybody else for what he does. And because I was doing that, he told this other person I was riding his coattails, which was weird and out of nowhere. It was completely irrational. It didn't make any sense. And he couldn't come to me like a man and ask what's up with it. Instead, he went to go complain to my friend. Then another situation. Well, first I contacted him after I found out, yo, what's going on? I thought we had mended whatever issue he had. So then we had a conversation, and he was asking me about life, and I was updating him. And at this point, I was being vetted to be, I was a candidate to be the press secretary for Bernie's campaign. And the people who had contacted me for that position were pretty important people, very well connected people, obviously, very well known and very popular in the progressive movement. And on the other side of that coin, I told him that I was going to be interviewing Tulsi, and we were getting her, first independent media interview, which was awesome. And, I thought that him being like an uncle, that's why I call him that. And that's why he's calling me nephew. I thought him being like family, that he would actually be proud of me. I come to find, then he didn't contact me. He pretended on the phone like everything was okay. Then after that, I found out he was talking shit about me again. And basically, he all but admitted directly he felt like the opportunities that were being given to myself or people on the network, or the amount of influence we might have had in politics, he felt like he deserved it. He wanted an interview with Tulsi. He didn't get the interview he wanted right away. And you could tell, because he went from kissing Tulsi's ass no matter what, because he thought he would get an interview on his time, to once he didn't get it in the time frame that he wanted it, he went immediately on the attack. And you started to see him do things disingenuously, like defend Cenk when Tim has had every problem in the world with Cenk. Attack Jimmy Dore. Like, what the hell is that about? Basically trying to follow whatever popular narrative he can. And then he started, although I had zero problem with him, and if you all remember last year, I didn't say anything about Tim. And out of nowhere, he just started bringing up my name. But my thing is, throughout all this, bro, you a grown ass man. You're a whole grown man. You got my number. If you got a problem with me, do the same thing I would do with you. I would call your ass. He didn't want to do that. So I lost respect for him there, but I still hadn't said anything about him. But then something else transpired where basically a person that's like family to me, a person who looked out for me in my time of need, I introduced him to. I brought him into, my network because he was so kind to bring me, into, when I say my network, not the channel, but like into my circle of people that I care about and that I rely on. And because he was so kind to bring me into his initially. And he repaid that, mind you. We did family vacations together, me, this other person, and Tim's family. This person has done things for Tim that I can't even speak about on camera, making sure that his family stays afloat. This person has done things for me. Whenever I was just getting done being homeless, they looked out for me and helped me take care of like my car payment when I was trying to get back on my feet in 2017. So this person, like we're very close, and she's like a mentor as well. But politically, obviously, that's how we met, was through politics. But she's like a mentor to me in a lot of different ways. And when I brought this person, or Tim, into this person's life, Tim repaid that debt by cussing at her, trying to turn that person against me, and thinking that that person wouldn't tell me, which was weird. Trying to sever the relationship between me and this person. Used her in a number of different ways, and that don't sit right with me. Because at that time, I would have never let somebody do that to Tim. To this day, I still never let somebody just lie on Tim's name. And over time, so I had somebody warn me about Tim, and last year, and I won't say I ignored it, but I was kind of like, huh? For real? Are you sure? And then another situation happened the year before that, where a guy had warned me about Tim, and I hadn't even noticed that it was the same pattern. It was the same story. Somehow money was involved, clout was involved, trying to secure a checkbook, if you will, was involved. And if Tim felt like you were figuring out the game, if you weren't capitulating to his every need and not asking questions about it, he would go irrationally crazy, start attacking you and cut you off and block you completely. So then I saw the third time that happened with my friend. Once again, somebody I consider family. And then I was like, it makes sense now. I get it. Because it was in my face. I couldn't deny it. Like, I couldn't deny the proof. So at that point, like, I couldn't, I wasn't going to bad talk him. I wasn't going to trash talk him. I wasn't going to take personal things and put them all over the internet. But I just didn't have respect for him anymore after that, especially when, once again, this is somebody that trusts me, trusted my judgment. I trusted Tim, and for me to bring Tim into this person's life, only for him to use that person up, then attack me, despite everything that we've done and tried to do for him and his family, it's disgusting. It was, and then obviously you see him. It's not a coincidence that at the same time you see him starting to attack me, he's attacking Tulsi. Like I said, he was mad. He was mad the entire time because he felt like he has more subscribers, therefore he should have more influence. He should be being called. He should be being contacted. He should have the opportunities to speak that, our network has been granted over time, the access that our network has been granted. And I tell people I tell Tim and anybody else the same thing that I tell other people who be hating. You want to get access? Stop being a yes man. Stop kissing ass. Politicians, you think that politicians care about you kissing their ass all the time? You think they're going to bring you into their circle? They're going to have legitimate, substantive conversations with you if you're just a yes man or a yes woman? They have nothing to gain from you. They have nothing to learn from you. They will use you to the degree they need to use you, and then they will go back to remembering that, pretending that you don't exist. We challenged Tulsi. We've challenged other progressives progressive politicians that we are in contact with. That's why they respect this network. Period. Kissing ass or disingenuously critiquing somebody, not even critiquing, attacking somebody, that's a surefire way to make sure you're never influential in this movement. And if you have a problem with that, Tim or anybody else, you know where the hell I'm at. You got my number, you got my DMs. Don't play. But I'll tell you this. If Tim keeps overstepping the line, he keeps wanting to be a habitual line stepper, I will blast his ass. And that's a fact. Because one thing I can't stand is someone taking kindness for weakness. You give somebody an inch, they feel like they got to take a mile. So, Matt Swirl, thanks for that super chat. Mockery, what happened to H.A. Goodman? Did he sell out? So, the long and short of it is, because I love H.A., right? I love H.A. as a person. He's a dope guy, great friend. Every time I go out to California, he always shows me love. But, I mean, you can call him a sellout, but he just really hates the DNC. He got ridiculed and attacked so much. I think it drove him overboard like it did a lot of Bernie supporters, to be real with you. I think it drove him overboard. Got tired of being attacked just for calling out somebody, a candidate, a politician who's doing wrong. Happy birthday from Allison. Love my Capricorns. Hey, Capricorn gang. All right, so I'm gonna have to cut it loose, y'all. And I appreciate all of you all being here, by the way. And I hope that I didn't miss anybody's super chat. And I'm so sorry if I did. If you wanna make this birthday special on Patreon right now, we have, I want to say, 350 patrons. Our goal for this year was to get 500 patrons. Now, granted, I will be real with you. We start out with 80, 90, maybe 100 patrons at the very most in January. And our goal is to get 500 patrons. We are at 350 roughly, give or take a few. So if you can literally donate $1. If everybody watching this video donated $1, we'll hit that goal to a Patreon. It's very, very important that our Patreon is doing well, because the better our Patreon does, I want to eventually be able to actually hire people to the network, do this full time, get our studio, be that legitimate populist competition based off of independent grassroots people power. Like, that's what I want for us. I don't want to have to do the investment banking from like TYT and others. I don't want to have to rely on a larger quote unquote network. I do believe that the message we have is strong enough, and our supporters are, amazing enough and generous enough to help us get there and help us remain independent. Like I said, if everybody on the network just donated $1, we could change the game. We would change the world. If everybody on the network donated $1 to Patreon, we would literally change everything. It would change our ability to travel. It would change our workspace. It would change everything. So, if you want to really make my birthday, become a patron. You can do it for as little as $1. A lot of people do $5, $10. We have a couple of people who donate $100 per month. But helping us hit that goal of 500 patrons, helping us be one step closer to becoming the complete network that I know we can be, that we're working to be, that would be the ultimate birthday present to me, because my birthday wish is to just be of service to this movement in every way we can be. And obviously, people worrying about putting food on the table, if that becomes the main issue, then you have less time to focus on politics, less time to put out videos, less time to put out content. And of course, because we're independent, some months are better than others. But the network, as you can see, even though when months are better than others, they're still putting out content. I mean, I can tell you right now, Robbie, Pasta, Fiorella, Johnny, they will go work 9, 10, 11 hours on their feet and get to work as soon as they get back from work. So, you know, being able to bring them all on full time, like being a pay, you know, we do incentives and things like that, but actually being able to pay them rather than them just kind of being on the network in a capacity very similar to like Kyle on TYT. Kyle doesn't get paid by TYT. Technically, he pays TYT to be on that network. But I want to be able to pay progressives, kind of how Jimmy is able to pay Ron with a salary and his producer with a salary and things like that. That's where I want us to be at too. So if you want to become a patron on Patreon, you just got to go to www.patreon.com/MikasaSukasa, or you can click on the link in the description below. All right, peeps. Thank you so very, very, very much. I think that's it. I think we got everybody. I hope we got everybody. If I did not answer your super chat, I'm so sorry. DM me and I will answer it in a later live stream. But in the meantime, Niko is about to go celebrate his damn birthday. We 31, baby. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream AMA of Mikasa Sukasa. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.